Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Come to the Table podcast. Welcome to come here, and we appreciate you taking the time to listen to us live today. And I have my wife, Michelle, with us.
Hi.
Michelle, want to say hi?
Hello.
So we welcome everybody in today, and we have a very special guest. But before we bring in Dr. Capparucci, we do these podcasts randomly. We like to do it on a kind of off the cuff basis. It's not very scripted. We just have a topic that we want to share, and we talk about it. We have a guest we bring in, and we just have a conversation. It's just a raw conversation, and we think that's a great conversation to have. We were talking with Eddie before we came on here live, and just the conversation we had there was probably as good a conversation as we could have had. We wish it would have been live and recorded, but it's just a good conversation. Like he said, it's what's in our heart that really counts, and it's not all the fluff. But we just wanted to bring in Eddie. Eddie's a great guy from Abundant Life Counseling and Coaching Center. He's an author. He works in this field. He's worked in this field for a long time, and we're just privileged to have him in here and to join us today. So let's welcome Dr. Eddie Capparucci. Welcome in, Eddie.
Hey, Tom, Michelle, thank you for being here. And I promise we will repeat what we've been doing for the last 25 minutes.
That's awesome. We'd love to see that and hear that. And I'm sure everybody else would too. So before we get into it, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this, and just what brought you into this field and how long you've been in it.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been doing this. I've been counseling now for 15 years. What brought me into this is basically God brought me here. I was a marketing and advertising executive for almost 30 years. I worked my way up the ranks in advertising agency, serving as eventually a senior vice president of client services. But I had my own struggles for many, many years with this. I was more of a womanizer than anything else. And I'm not going to go into the whole story. People
Right.
heard it before. But basically what happened was after I finally got the help I needed and started doing my work, I met my current wife, Terry. And that was almost 30 years ago. We're going to be married 29 years this year.
Oh, congratulations. Yeah.
And I've been faithful the entire time. Now, I shouldn't even have to say that. I shouldn't, not, but it's true. And she's the first woman the only woman I've ever been faithful with since I started dating when I was 16. So basically, when I met her, I was a Christian, but not a really strong one. She was. And she got me more involved in church. And I really became closer and closer in my relationship with Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And as that continued, along the way, I got this sense and this feeling of I'm supposed to do more.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like that at all because I was like, no, I like what I'm doing. I don't want to do anything different. But God was putting it on my heart. No, he goes, you're going to do something different. And finally, after fighting him for a few years, gave in and said, okay, all right, so I'm going to be a Christian counselor. I don't even know what a Christian counselor is, but I'm going to do that. So I did my research, and then I went back to school, got another master's degree, did all the state work to become licensed, and I became a therapist, and I opened up a practice, and I was going to be a generalist. I'll see people with depression, anxiety, and those types of things. And before you knew it, these guys start walking into my office. Well, actually, they're dragged into my office by their partners, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's me. That was me. And then it just all clicked. I said, this is what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
So I sought out several other certifications and training, and here we are 15 years later with a ministry that is beyond anything I could ever imagine in my entire life. It was not supposed to be this way. I was never supposed to write one book, never got sick. I was never supposed to speak in front of audiences, but I mean, this is what it is, and I am so blessed that I've been given the opportunity to do so. More importantly, I feel so blessed that I've been able to make a difference in so many people's lives.
Hmm. Yeah, you've been a blessing to so many people for sure. Not only the books, but just in your counseling and all the
Thank
different
you.
speaking things that you do. It's so awesome. So
Thank
welcome in.
you.
We appreciate it. Appreciate you sharing that. So for those that are listening online or watching online, this is live. So if you do have any comments or questions for Eddie, you're more than welcome to put them in the comment section in YouTube or Facebook. I don't think you can in Instagram, but we'll entertain any questions that Eddie can get to today if you want. One of the reasons Michelle and I were talking a couple weeks back, right around Christmas time, somebody had sent me Eddie's blog on "Did he ever love me?" And that's been a question that we've come across in our coaching. And that's another thing I wanted to say too, Eddie, with you and your wife doing this together. That's just an awesome blessing too. You know, to be able to do this side by side. And
Yeah.
Michelle and I have been doing it for quite some time as well. And that's really awesome to be able to have that coupleship to be able to counsel to others. So thank you for doing that.
Well, good. Thank you too for doing it also.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, did he ever love me is a big question, and it's a great blog that you wrote. Somebody sent it to me, like I said, right around Christmas time, and then you and I had talked about potentially doing this podcast, and it came up, and I appreciate you being willing to talk about it. And like I said earlier, the conversation we had on offline before we got here was phenomenal. But I guess kind of high level, that question, did he ever love me? I know you've heard a lot. You said you've heard a lot, and you said there's a lot of dynamics to it. It's a difficult question, but it's been a powerful question for you to help maybe partners navigate through this.
Yeah, well, just like you and Michelle have heard this question over the years, I cannot begin to tell you the number of times I've heard it. And over the years, I started putting together bits and pieces as I continued to gain data and research from my clients about why. I'm a big why guy. Um, when you go to get your master's in counseling, one of the things they tell you is don't ask why questions because they come across as you're making an accusation. I love the why question.
Yeah.
Why do I think, feel, and do the things I do? Because I believe with the answer to why, we're empowered. And if by asking those kind of questions to men about the idea, asking them, did you ever love your wife? Do you love your wife? And the data you got back, and like, okay, well, if you loved your wife the way you said you did, because 99% said that, it's like, well, then again, asking pretty obvious kind of questions. So what led you to do what you did? And of course, when you ask them that and they haven't done the work yet, they're going to say, I have no idea. I don't know why. Well, as we do the work, especially with inner child work, which is what my specialty is, we come to understand that a major reason why these men who profess to love their partners, why do they stray? Why do they engage in hours and hours of pornography if they, are in love? And the reason, the fundamental reason, is they do not know how to emotionally bond. When they were growing up, whether as a child, a youth, as a teenager, adolescent, and a teenager, they never fully bonded with their parents. Okay, they may have had a very light bond, a simple bond. Some cases, there's no bond that goes on in certain circumstances. But this bond that's very weak can come apart quickly. But yet to us, this bond feels like a bond that would be a secure attachment. With somebody who has a secure attachment, when they bond like this. You can't take that thing apart. For us to bond at all, that's what it feels like, but it's not. So once we meet our significant other and we start to connect, it feels like this, okay, but it's really like this. And we're like head over heels, and this is amazing, and it feels wonderful and everything. And then something happens in the relationship. Something happens. Let's say, for example, you know what? Her mother gets very ill, all right? And she has to spend countless hours at her mother's house, taking care of her, watching over her. She's doing the right thing. She's doing the thing that needs to be done. But for us, and again, unknowing, because we're like, yeah, we know you need to be at your mother's, but the bond is coming apart. Because subconsciously, there's a feeling of rejection, right? There's a feeling of not being wanted. There's a feeling of being abandoned, which are all very similar to maybe something that happened in the past. Now I'm just giving you one example. You could take that and multiply it. We could give 100 different examples, maybe 1,000 different examples of changing the variables of the story of why this comes apart. But the key is that it comes apart. And once it does, now it makes the betrayer, it increases that risk of him doing something that he can feel this again. Because that's what you want. You want to go back to this. But I can't go back to there with my current partner because there's a sense of you can't trust. There's a sense of that's risky. Again, all subconscious is happening. Not having thoughts like that. Oh, she's taking care of her mother. I can't trust her. Not having any of those thoughts.
Right.
But that's what's going on subconsciously here. And so therefore, he now looks, he finds something else. Perhaps he finds pornography. And now he's just saturated in the porn. Why? Because the porn, believe it or not, it's still something that I still at times shake my head about, but it is true. Porn gives a sense of bonding. It's a sense of connecting. You're connecting with those images that are there. Or maybe there's someone at work who seems to be engaging with him, and maybe an emotional affair begins there. But when you do, he's looking to bring this back. It'll fall apart again. He does. But to go back to the original question, did he ever love you? The answer is yes, he did. But he loved you to the best he could. He gave you what he could, and he couldn't give you any more because he wasn't nurtured when he was younger. It's like if you had said to him, you meet him and you get married and said, hey, you know what? We're going to ballroom dance. Like, okay, well, when are we going to take lessons? No, we're not taking lessons. We're just going to ballroom dance. I think it would be a really ugly dance that you'd have.
Absolutely.
Why? Because you don't know how to ballroom dance. And you probably get so frustrated, like you're not going the right way. You're stepping on my feet. What you idiot. No, why can't you just ballroom dance? And that's what you think. Why can't you just bond? Why can't you just love? Why can't you just nurture? Why can't you just be empathetic? Because I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
I never had it.
That's so good. That's so good. Appreciate you sharing that. What do you say to somebody or a spouse? And I know you've written a book, 4 Partners now. But what do you say to a spouse who says that's just an excuse? I know you kind of hit on that, but a lot of them will say that.
Right. Well, you know what? First and foremost, I would say, you know what? I could understand why you would think that's an excuse. You think we're trying to make excuses for him. However, what I'm sharing here is based on a lot of research that has been done by many individuals, not just myself, that shows what happens when people were raised in environments where there's trauma or emotional neglect. And what happens is, in order to protect the individual, they cut off emotion. They don't do it consciously. They just do it because I can't feel. And let's give an example. Want to bond with daddy. Daddy, spend time with me. I don't have time for you. Yeah, but daddy, let's do this. I don't have time for you. Daddy, but leave me alone. Okay. Hey, daddy, can we go? I said, leave me alone. Eventually, that child is going to say, I got to leave daddy alone.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've been to that well so many times and it's just dry. But wow, how do I live without connecting with my father? Because I love my father. Oh, I'm not going to really think very much about how much I care about him. I'm going to pretend that he really doesn't. He's only there to do what he normally does, and that's it. I'm not going to get anything else from him. So see, the emotions are starting to be severed. And that's just, again, one example. We could come up with another 100 different ones, the different scenarios that go on. But that's the thing, and that's real. That's real. And it's not like you can just turn that back on. Once you turn that off, you're shutting that off, especially the younger you do it. And so therefore you're not using it. It's like if you have a muscle and you don't use that muscle.
Right.
Eventually the muscle is useless. It's the same thing here. So it is not the fact that we're looking for an excuse to explain this. What we're doing is we're just giving an explanation of why you are faced with a situation that has hurt you and makes you feel very frustrated. How many women, because a lot of the work I do now with men is a lot more along the lines of becoming emotionally developed because they're emotionally underdeveloped. And it really hurts these women when they feel like, why is he ignoring me? It's like, I'm not ignoring you. I'm right here. You're over there. What do you mean ignoring you? You're not saying anything. Well, I don't know what you want to say, what you want to talk about. They don't know because, again, back home, they sat in front of a TV with TV trays having dinner. Okay, not all of them, but a lot of them. A lot of them sat around a kitchen table and they didn't say anything. Or dad said, how was school? Good. Okay, that's the mashed potatoes. Right?
That's true.
Again, they can't. You want this. You want this. He can give you that. Maybe he can only give you that. But that's all he has. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to teach him how to have more. We're trying to teach him to expand and to grow. It takes time.
It does take time.
A lot of time.
But I know there's women out there that are thinking, well, how much time? What am I supposed to do? Huh?
I could tell you that, Michelle. It takes for a man, again, through my research, I found that normally about 9 out of 10 men who struggle with problematic sexual behavior also are somewhat emotionally undeveloped.
Yeah.
How great that is varies on the different individual. I've also found in my research, it takes about 2 years of working with a man to start to get him to a place where he can be attuned, where he can be empathetic, and maybe not even so much empathetic if it is sympathetic, right? That he can sit with emotional discomfort and not run away from it, okay? That he can name his own emotions, that he can, one of the most difficult one, be vulnerable. Because vulnerability is a dirty word. Because you're taught somewhere along the line or you conditioned to understand, if you're vulnerable, you get teased, you get mocked, you get scolded. I'm not going to be vulnerable. So we have to break them out of all of these habits that they have. More importantly, what we have to do is we have to break the schemas that they have, that they believe, and we have to replace them with new positive thinking about what is it like to be emotionally attuned and understanding, oh my gosh, that opens up a whole new world to me that I've been missing out on. Because see, we don't know what we don't know.
Mm-hmm. It's so true. So many people, go through this and they think it's about sobriety. I just got to stop the behavior. And they go on years, and I like how you said it. I don't like it, but it's true. The research shows, and your research shows, it takes time. It takes years.
Yeah.
And I know from Michelle and I were talking the other day too about just in renewing your mind that, what we learned early on, 2 to 5 years. That's a shocker when you're first getting into this.
It
And
is.
now to realize not only are you renewing your mind when it comes to those neural pathways going down towards sexual behavior or problematic sexual behavior, it's also now trying to rewire your brain for those neurological pathways for connection.
Right.
And
And that's why I get women to come into to meet with me with their husband. It's like, you know what? I'm at my wit's end. I'm done. He's got 30 days. He's got to get it in line, get it straightened out. And I'm like, I'm not going to be able to help you.
mm-hmm.
Because there's no switch I can throw.
It's no pill.
There's nothing. I don't have pixie dust to throw on him.
Mm-hmm.
I have to, what you said, Tom, I have to rework the neurocircuitry of his brain so that his fear start to quiet down. Not that the fear is going to go away,
Mm-hmm.
but he's going to learn to act despite the fear, move forward to it. And again, it takes time. Some guys, within 3 months, 6 months, wow, we're seeing some real improvement.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Other guys, it takes up to 2 years. And unfortunately, there's some guys who never get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They never
And
get it.
do you agree that if they become sober from their acting out, their sexually acting out behaviors, is a better environment to learn how to be more in tune with your own feelings and emotions? Because if you're still acting out, isn't that the baseline? If you're still acting out, how do you get to be in touch with your own feelings when you still are using that to cope with?
You can't.
Right.
You can't. To your very point, the reason you're acting out is to avoid
Mm-hmm.
feeling any of this. So
Mhm.
therefore, if you're still doing that, then there is nothing. And that's why we have to get them sober first.
Mm-hmm.
I find, and again, I'm not trying to be boisterous or whatever, I find it so much easier to get guys to be sober than I do to get them to be emotionally, to expand that bandwidth for themselves. But to your point, I can't, if you're not sober, what you could be doing is you could be through manipulation,
Mm-hmm.
trying to demonstrate that you are emotionally available, but that's not going to work very often, and it's not going to work very long.
Mm-mm. No.
Well, what's that look like then if it takes 2 years and she's bleeding out? He's still betrayed, he just betrayed her. He may not have at that moment then, but it's like, okay, you hear this 2 years, we're coming to you, okay? And it's like, what's she supposed to do? What is she supposed to look for and do? And because she's not safe with him, she can't be vulnerable because he's not safe. And then she's still feeling abandoned and alone, and he's, getting help, but she's still out here like bleeding out.
Yeah, there is. And that's why when we're going through that 2-year period, we are encouraged. This doesn't mean, Michelle, that, hey, look, you just go sit over in that corner for 2 years and he's going to stay over here and do his work. No, that's not it. I'm going to be giving him tools to be able to engage with her and to have that courage, building that confidence. But this is the thing I need from the women. Understanding he's not going to get it right all the time. In fact, I met with a couple earlier this week, and he was saying how he was being defensive about something. And what she did was she sat there and she touched his arm and says, do you want to take a moment to regulate yourself?
Hmm.
And he was like, wow. And he goes, I actually started crying.
Hmm.
And and he's like, thank you for that. I that's what I needed. And he did regulate himself. That's not the response most women would give. Most women would be, yo, here you go again. You're being defensive. And I am not trying to dictate a woman's mood. I'm not trying to do anything. All I'm saying is sometimes, if we're going through those 2 years, to understand what you're dealing with, you have somebody who doesn't have the tools, they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the understanding. They're oblivious to what this is all about that we're trying to teach them. It's not natural to them at all. And so therefore, the biggest thing, the biggest element that a woman needs in those times is patience. But to be somewhat understanding when he doesn't do it right, instead of taking out the Louisville Slugger, instead, you know what? Maybe you want to go back and rethink that and then come back to me. That's it. I tell women you can wind up getting so much more out of him if when he does something wrong that you simply say, that is very disappointing. And it's something that I can't tolerate, and walk away. That is going to rip his heart out. And in most cases, 8 out of 10 times, I guarantee that guy's back apologizing. And when he apologizes, okay, fine, apologize. But what are you learning from this? And how are you going to do it next time? Now, some women will say to me, well, you're asking a lot of me. Maybe I am. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to help you guys to learn how to become reconnected. If you feel like you can't do it, then you can't do it. And I'm not going to judge you for it. Okay, that's what it is. But you want him to change? Understand it's going to take time to change. And it would be helpful if you could point out his inconsistencies versus getting upset about him. Because you get upset, what you do is you shame him. You shame him. What you do is you drive him backwards. And again, I'm not blaming them. I'm just saying, how do we make this all work? So I don't know, Michelle. I'd be interested to see what you think about all that I just said.
Well, I think what came up in my mind is like, okay, what they need to have them, because, you know, if we cause them shame by being truthful, and, you know, we have our healthy boundaries, and we got to take care of ourselves in the midst of that as well. But also they need to have other healthy people in their life, their groups. They need to have the people they can call.
Absolutely.
And say, hey, she just laid into me and I'm feeling horrible. And oh my gosh, my shame is so bad. I can't deal with this. But to have the healthy people in his life, you know, that he can call, because we can't be their cheerleader. I mean, That's really hard. We can to a point at some times, but we just can't. I just feel like there's a time that we just can't be the cheerleader.
Absolutely. And you know what? And that an expectation had to be set with him to say, you know what? There's going to be times. I do this thing when I work with my men is look, one thing you might want to do is to validate to her about what happened here. Look, you know what? You have every right to be upset by the fact that I forgot to call you before I left. Now, and then I'll go, yeah, you're damn right I do. You know what? They go, you should have called. You know you're supposed to call. And I do this kind of back and forth. Yeah. And the thing is, he's like, well, but we validate it. I go, so what? You're supposed to validate. That's what you're supposed to do. Yeah, but doesn't that mean that it doesn't mean anything. because
You
we
mean you don't
can't
get a box of
control-
cookies when you validate?
No, right. Because we're not trying to control her
Exactly.
response. We're trying to demonstrate that we can do this, and whether she responds in a healthy way to it or not, that's not it, because you got to take into consideration she's still in pain.
Yep.
Yeah.
And she's still hurting. Does that help?
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. That's part of what goes on here. We have to set their expectations too, to understand here, you know what? She's not going to say, oh, I'm very disappointed with that. Okay, because that's not it. We don't want, she's not the hall monitor.
Mm-hmm.
You're supposed to be getting 90% of this right. She's there for the other 10. Because I think if he's getting it right 90%, I don't think she's going to be like, oh, okay, 10%, I could jump in and navigate a little bit.
I'm just so glad you said 90% because I'm sure a lot of men listening are like, man, 50%, I get it right now. It's not a problem.
Nope, sorry. Consistency.
That's it.
Consistency is the key word here. And you know what? Let's go back to what I said before. Well, wait a second. If he doesn't have this, how did he give consistency? He works on it. And you don't work on it when you're in the trenches. You work on it when you're not in the trenches. So therefore, I sit and I write, okay, what are some of the things that really trigger her? Okay, well, how should I respond when those things trigger her? How should I not respond when those things trigger her? How can I keep myself from my fear of getting escalated and keep it down? Those are all things they're supposed to be working on every day, taking these scenarios through their head. So therefore, when they get in the trenches, they're not blindsided by things. Now, occasionally they'll be blindsided by something. Okay.
Yeah.
But they have to be prepared. There's no way in the world any therapist should be asking a betrayed woman to do more work than the betrayer.
So true.
No,
So true.
and not even more work. I mean, if I'm asking you, like I said, 10%, hey, if you give me 10%, I'm happy.
Because that's a
I'm
lot
happy.
sometimes. It is.
It is at times. At times that could be a lot.
Sometimes might get 1%, it's depending what's happened.
Right.
But I like what you said too, is you got to practice it. You got to be able to be prepared for those situations because you will get blindsided. And if you don't practice it, like we were talking in group the other week where, like professional athletes, right? You deal with them, I think you said. So, they practice, and they get paid millions of dollars to practice their specific sport. And guess what? They still go out on Sunday and really stink up the joint, and they're getting paid millions of dollars. So we have to, as the betrayers, practice and be diligent. And like you said, consistency is key, because if we're not, we're never going to be prepared. You got to stop worrying about our image. We talk about image management. They're trying to manage your image so they don't have to feel those feelings, but you got to drop that and keep being very intentional and practice.
There's no vulnerability in image management.
No,
right?
It's protecting me.
That's right. And that's what we're trying to break down overall. We're trying to break down the idea of having to protect. All right. There's no longer the sense, the need to protect. Yeah, but you don't understand. When I get in there, I just start to shake and I start to quiver. And okay, what had she said? Well, nothing yet. I go, oh, so what's that about? Okay. Oh, I know what it's about. Somebody else is in the room. Somebody else is in the room. Mom's in the room. Dad's in the room. A teacher who is abusive is in the room. And you're not knowing it or equating her with something from the past. And that's why your fear level is so high.
That's good. I love that.
That's why we need to do the inner child work to help. But they're all hypersensitive. They're hypersensitive to criticism. They're hypersensitive to rejection. They're hypersensitive to being falsely accused. I mean, it's like, oh, did you pick up that magazine that was over there on the table? No, I didn't do that. Versus, That magazine? No, I did not pick it up. Why do you ask?
Mm-hmm.
Be curious. Why do you ask? No, I didn't do that. And it's like, that's the last thing you're supposed to do. Again, it's like that stimulus, response, reaction. And the guys are always waiting for, when does the reaction stop? It doesn't, guys. Guess what? That is always going to be there because it's part of your autonomic nervous system. But this, no, I didn't do that. Why do you ask?
That's good. Mm-hmm.
Michelle, tell them about our snow globe thought that we did over Christmas.
Oh, what part? Trying to make one, or why we're making one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the snow globe. It's kind of like, like you just did the breathing. When you shake up the snow globe and then the snow starts to fall, it's like kind of like you want everybody to have a snow globe, because all of a sudden, just take that breath as long and calm and watch the snow, and just don't react until the snow hits the bottom.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
Slow everything down.
Exactly.
My number one rule to recovery: slow everything down. Because if we don't do that, you can't do anything else.
Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
There's a good question here in the chat. I don't know, Michelle, if you've seen it. But what happens if the betrayer's recovery over a year is interrupted with relapse? How long does it take to get the neurocircuits to go back to where it was before doing good recovery? Do they lose all the progress they've already made in that year?
That's a great question. Normally, the answer would be no, they don't. Sometimes people relapse because there are various circumstances that most people relapse because what has happened is here. Let's say this is the line of self-care, and you're here. This is where you're supposed to be with your self-care. You've let it drop slowly. Slowly let it diminish. And then you reach a point, you now don't have that ability to, instead you just give in to that. So the big thing about when there's a relapse, especially after a long period of time with sobriety, it is again, not so much I stay focused on the relapse. What I stay focused on is the why. Why did this happen? How is it you've got all these days, all these months, maybe these years, and this thing's been nowhere around? And now all of a sudden today, it's here? What happened? Why is this going on? And then being able to understand that, all right, okay, now that we understand, and what are you going to find? I know what you're going to find. You're going to find that there was that temptation, the opportunity, because sometimes the opportunities aren't always there. Now there's the opportunity. He didn't call anybody. He didn't slow anything down. Okay. He didn't do the thing, everything that was mapped out for him, he did not do. And the reason being that he was drained mentally, emotionally, physically, or spiritually too much, and he just reacted. So no, it doesn't throw everything out. I've seen people, fortunately not too many, who have had a relapse after an extended period of time, and then they don't relapse again. We have to get it back to understanding, okay, what went wrong. Now, I also have seen, in some cases, a person who relapses after an extended period of time, who relapses and relapses and relapses and relapses. And when that happens, that means there's something else that's going on emotionally that they are not facing. They are running away from something. They're running away from it. And we got to get them stabilized so we can understand what is it that you don't want to deal with. And that was goes on.
Yeah, it's very good.
But then that makes me think of the woman that's like, my gosh, you know, he had that time. Okay, we made it through that one. But then he's still relapsing maybe once a month. You know, I know women that, you know, once a month, and what do you do with that? And then because he may never stop doing that, and it's just that she has the choice to stay or to go. But what if he never wants to? I'm fine. I'm fine. You know, I'm done doing all the work. I've done so much work. I don't need any more work. I don't need any more groups. You know, yeah, it's just once a month. It's not that bad. You know. What do you say?
No. Well, that was. I think it's selfish. I think it's egotistical. I think it is harmful to her.
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's narcissistic, actually. I mean, the fact that if only once a month, are you kidding me? Oh, it's okay to break her heart once a month? No, it's not. It's never good to break her heart. It's never good to put fear in her. So therefore, what you have then is you have a man who's just vindictive. You have a man who's self-centered. There are a lot of different characteristics that are going on with something like that. Okay, when I was talking about that one scenario, I could think about that one circumstance. His relapsing wasn't once a month after that. It was like every other day. He was just going. And that was because he was dealing with traumas that were happening in his life. Well, he wasn't dealing with the traumas that were happening in his life. And in fact, he was actually keeping them kind of a secret from everybody. And that's what was going on. In that case, no. I mean, because what you're doing, you're minimizing it. No, it's not that big a deal. It's once a month. It is a big deal. And that shows somebody who's just not, they may have pulled it together for a while, but then you know what? To your point, I'm tired. I'm tired of doing the work. I'm tired of being scrutinized. I'm tired. Oh, so what's happened to the transformation of the heart?
Right.
That stopped, or maybe it wasn't really developing in the first place. Maybe you were doing a really good job of just demonstrating to us, like, oh, look at me, what a good boy I am, without really changing overall. And that happens.
It does.
Yeah.
Real quickly, I know we talked off air about this. Want to help your wife heal, walk into the fire.
Yes.
I mean, we talked. I mean, that's kind of what we've been talking about. But in a nutshell, what do you feel that means for somebody, for a guy, a betrayer, to walk in the fire for his wife?
Right. It's a concept I came up with about 7 or 8 years ago. For men who sometimes, like Michelle, you see the betrayed partner, they sometimes go quiet for a few days, and it puts they're tired, they're exhausted, whatever it might be. And so therefore you just see them and they look like this. But I tell guys, so I say, go, how's she doing? Oh, she's doing really good. She's like really calm. Oh, okay. I go, there's another storm coming. And he goes, no, I don't think so. I think we're over this. I think this is done. I said, no, there's another storm coming. I go, while you see this, under the surface is this. Okay, that's under the surface, but you're seeing this. Well, no, I don't think that's true. Well, you know what? Let's test it. I want you to go home, and I want you to ask her a question. I want you to say, so, honey, you seem, in a good spirit the last several days. What are you doing with that pain I caused you?
Yeah.
And of course, they look at me like I got 3 eyes. Like, why in the world would I want to do that? I go, you want to do that because you're going to show them that you understand that she's not over it, that it's still, she's never going to be over it completely. Okay. That you understand there's still pain. 2, that you're willing to sit there with her in that pain. And 3, the fact that you also understand, she understands, ooh, you're not going to pull me through this.
Right.
So I had them, and I call it walk into the fire, because most likely you're going to get burnt.
Mhm.
Right? You're gonna raise this up, and she's gonna say, "Well, yeah, you know what? I've been trying not to really think about it much. I'm trying to give myself a bit of a rest. But this morning it really started to bother me again. And before you know it, here we go, and blah blah blah, which is fine because when they escalate, they're grieving,
Yeah.
and when they're grieving, they're healing. I know it doesn't look like healing, but that's what they're doing. They're healing. So therefore, it gives you a chance to help them heal. And so therefore, that's what I encourage my men to do. Like if you see a period of time that actually even once a week, you're proactively going to her, even if she has still been escalating about. So tell me, what part of all of this has been the most troubling for you lately? Are there certain images that are going through your head? Are there certain thoughts that are going through your head? Is there a question that you have that you really need me to answer for you?
Mhm.
Just to bring up and stir the pot. Stir the pot.
It's so good.
Because ultimately, it's going to be beneficial for both. For him, it's beneficial because, again, it helps him to build the confidence that, oh, I can handle this. I can sit here. I can deal with this discomfort. That means I'll be able to lean in more and be there for her. And for her, it's like, oh, you give a damn? Wow.
Mhm.
Impressive.
So that's what Walk Into the Fire is about.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really good. I appreciate that. So many guys need to really grasp that because I think they just feel like I got sober. I'm not acting out anymore. We should be getting better, and we're still stuck here. Something's got to be wrong with her when it's
Yeah.
not.
Right.
We know,
Well,
we know that.
being sober is not enough.
Nope, not at all.
Not close
When
enough.
when should she expect him to start to do that?
To walk into the fire?
Mm-hmm.
She should expect that immediately. He should be the one who, from the very beginning, he's going to her and say, "Hey, you want to talk?" Not like, "How you doing?" No, we don't. But would you like to talk now? You know, you want to share what's going on? That should be right from day one after discovery. You should be doing that. There's no build up to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I need him to have confidence. The
Mm-hmm.
more he puts off, because remember, you're already no conflict. We don't deal with conflict unless I make the conflict. If I make it, then it's okay. But other than that, no, I don't deal with the conflict. So I need him to start building that confidence. The way he builds that confidence is understanding I can go there and I can lean in. Now, at the very beginning, Michelle, it's not pretty.
Yeah.
Okay, because he doesn't have most of the skills. He doesn't understand how to, validate. He doesn't know how to reassure. He doesn't understand any of those concepts.
Right.
All he knows is like, no, stop hitting me. Not literally.
Yeah,
I hope not literally, but but that's where he is.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's good.
that's good. Well, any parting? I know we would want to be respectful of your time too. With any parting thoughts, or you want to speak a little bit about your books, or how could people get a hold of you if they want to talk to you? I know one guy in group, he was supposed to be watching live, but he texted me during this and said he couldn't. But he wanted to tell you that he really, really appreciates your group. He said it was life-changing for him, and he's just so appreciative of that resource. So maybe you want to share some things that people could reach out to you for.
Sure. Yeah, all my books are sold exclusively through Amazon. So if they go to Amazon and type in Capparucci, they can find all of those there. I do have a compendium I put together of emotional regulation techniques, as well as pressure points in the body that you can use to regulate your mood. if people would like a copy of that, they could email me at innerchildmodel@gmail.com. And I'll be more than happy to send that to them. If they've not read the book, Going Deeper, How the Inner Child Impacts Your Sexual Addiction, or Going Deeper for the Betrayed Partner, if they email me, I'll be more than happy to send them a free chapter of each of the books also.
That's awesome.
It is.
That's wonderful.
Trying to put that in the, you said innerchildmodel@gmail.com.
Yes, innerchildmodel@gmail.com.
I put that in the show notes so people can get that there if they want and reach out to you that way and get that great resource.
Excellent.
Oh, wait, somebody just said, do you have phone consultations with a wife?
Do they have, sorry, once again, what was that?
The question is, do you do phone consultations with a wife?
Do I do phone consultation with a wife?
I wonder if that means while you're seeing him,
Yeah.
do you, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, I usually refer out about 2 to 3 people a day. Well, I do a consultation, a one-time consultation with a wife. Yes, I probably could put that in, squeeze that in somewhere. So if they want to send me, again, an email at innerchildmodel@gmail, I can see if I could do that.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Eddie, thank you so much. This has been an awesome conversation and just a great resource. And we appreciate your time today and just thank you for all you do and keep up the good work.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And God bless both of you and your ministry.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Blessings to you too.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.